A proposal in Illinois would prohibit landlords from using income to qualify tenants and force them to take Section 8. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today coming out of the state of Illinois, and it's another one of those cases where they're trying to force landlords to take Section 8 tenants. And by doing that, they're basically throwing all of the, qualifications that we use when we say, hey, a tenant has to have a certain income in order to afford to live in our unit. Well, they're taking those and they're throwing them out the door. They're saying, hey, it doesn't matter what the tenant's income is anymore. You have to take them. So even if a person can't afford to live in your property, then you still have to be able to take this person in. And that's wrong, okay? Landlords should have the right to say, hey, no, I don't want to participate in the Section 8 program. And no, I'm not going to allow this tenant in here who can't actually afford to live here. Okay, those are two things that I believe every landlord should have the right to do. And it's just not right that they're trying to force this kind of thing down the throats of landlords up in Illinois. Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know, okay? I've asked this question before when I brought up other local jurisdictions or other states where they tried to pass these kind of Section 8 rules. What's your opinion, though? Do you think these rules are fair to landlord? Do you think a landlord should be forced to take somebody who is a Section 8 tenant when they don't really want to? I told you, I don't. Okay. And that it's just going more into taking away a person's property rights and trying to force landlords to be the low income housing providers that the government refuses to be themselves. Okay. So it's not a landlord's responsibility to make sure that every poor or homeless person has a home. Okay. The landlord is there to make money. Now, if they want to make sure that people have plenty of affordable housing, they need to create incentives so that we can build more housing, and that will bring prices down. That's my opinion, okay? But instead, they do the exact opposite. They do everything they can to restrict the amount of housing that's built and to make it hard for developers and landlords to, increase the number of housing units that are available. And that's exactly why housing is becoming more expensive right now. So this article is coming from the RockfordRegister.com, and it says, why some Illinois landlords are unhappy with proposed mandatory participation in Section 8. Let's see what it says. An organization representing landlords across Illinois has concerns that more choices for residents in public housing could translate into less autonomy for landlords. Illinois House Bill 2775 amends the state's Homelessness Prevention Act by creating additional legal defenses for renters and protections against discrimination based on source of income, as well as preventing undue administrative burdens when applying for housing assistance. Protected sources of income under the bill include emergency housing assistance, Social Security, disability support, and federal Section 8 housing choice vouchers. Okay, and when we're talking about these laws and rules, they throw all this other, this will help people who are on disability from having. Listen, the people on disability, they're not the ones that we're upset about, okay? Because they pay disability directly to those people in the form of actual money, and then those people use that money to pay the landlord, whoever that might be, okay? The issue we have isn't disability or the emergency housing assistance or Social Security or whatever, right? The issue we have is Section 8, because there's all these hoops that you have to jump through before you can take payment through Section 8. I know because I have Section 8 tenants, and there was quite a bit more that I had to do versus just me going, talking to a tenant, them signing the lease, and me getting them to move in, okay? I had to wait, I think it was about 6 weeks longer than normal before, all the inspections and everything were done, before all my paperwork was done, and before I finally got that first Section 8 payment after I got the tenant moved into my property, okay? And a lot of landlords, they don't want to wait that extra time. They don't want to go through all that inspection process. They don't want them to have to jump through those hoops. And, I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit. Now, forcing a landlord to do something when the federal program, the way it works is the federal program says that it's voluntary. So why are these states stepping up here and trying to force landlords to do it? Because landlords don't want to participate. And instead of asking the landlords, why don't you want to participate in this program? Instead, they immediately they consider us evil. They think that we're the problem, and then they start throwing these new laws, rules, and regulations so that they can cite us and fine us or whatever, right? But believe me when I say that if a landlord doesn't want to participate in Section 8, it doesn't matter if you create a new rule or not saying that we have to take these tenants. They're going to go out of their way to find loopholes and break the rules without breaking the rules. You understand what I'm saying? Basically, they're going to, hey, we're not going to disqualify you because of your source of payment. We'll figure out some other way to disqualify you because we just don't want you in here. And we're just not going to let you know the truth. Okay? That's what happens. And, that's what landlords have to do if they really just don't want these people in there, because participating in these programs is a lot of hassle that some landlords just don't want to deal with. But let's continue. According to the Illinois Rental Property Owners Association, the legislation would mandate that landlords participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, commonly referred to as the Section 8 program. Section 8 is a federal rental assistance program for low-income individuals whereby monthly rent is determined by income. Participation in the program is currently voluntary for landlords. The legislation will have the effect of mandating that a property owner enter into a non-negotiable contract with a unit of government, regardless if the property owner is willing to do so, said Paul Arena, Director of Legislative Affairs at the Illinois Rental Property Owners Association. It is unreasonable to accuse a property owner who declines to accept such non-negotiable terms as having violated a person's human rights. If a government program is not gaining sufficient participation, the solution is to correct the objectionable elements of the program. There are remedies other than forced participation. Yeah, that's just what I said, okay? They need to fix the reason that landlords don't want to participate. And a lot of it has to do with the bureaucracy involved. If there wasn't nearly as much bureaucracy, believe me, a lot more landlords would participate. Not all of them, but a lot more, okay? Less bureaucracy. Also, in a lot of cases, the Section 8 doesn't pay as much as the prevailing rent in the area. So why would you want to take a tenant who, isn't going to, when the Section 8 isn't going to be paying as much as the prevailing rent is in the area. Now, let's say it does pay just as much as the prevailing rent. There's still other reasons why you don't want to, deal with it, okay? And it could be that you have had a bad experience because of the quality of the tenants when you were dealing with Section 8. And a lot of the times, in a lot of places, the quality of Section 8 tenants is very low. And properties, they get torn up, they get abused. It's just, they're rougher on properties than non-Section 8 tenants in a lot of cases. And so after a landlord has gotten abused and had their property torn up and maybe lost thousands of dollars, maybe they don't want to participate in that program anymore. And they have the right to say, no, I'm not doing it. But this bill would take that right away from landlords in Illinois. And that's why I'm 100% against it. The bill also effectively eliminates use of an income threshold to qualify tenants, Arena said. Rockford landlord Mary Snyder has been active in the Section 8 program for years. The biggest problem we have with entitlement programs like food stamps and Section 8 is there's no time limits and there's no incentive for them to get off of it, Snyder said. I've had tenants turn down promotions because then they no longer qualify for the program. Yeah, and that is a huge problem, okay? It disincentivizes work. It disincentivizes people actually improving their lives. This is why I'm so against socialist programs, okay? Because they basically tell you, they tell a person, hey, the government's going to pay for everything that you have. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be motivated. You don't have to work hard. The government will take care of you. Big brother government will always have your back, okay? And it perpetuates a lot of these bad situations because, people, they're not fools. They realize, hey, if I can get away with not paying rent, not paying any of my bills, and then somebody else will always cover me, well, a lot of people are going to go for it. Not everybody, but a lot of people will. And it just becomes worse and worse as time goes by, as more and more people participate. And eventually you have a situation where you have a smaller group of people who are actually paying the taxes than the large group of people who are doing nothing or doing very little and not paying taxes. And that's not the kind of situation I want this country to be in, okay? What a ridiculous joke. And then you look at a lot of these very socialist countries and they have extremely high taxes because of it. Where you're talking about 60% of your income going to taxes to pay for all of these socialist programs, such as, housing, free housing for people. Yeah. What is the motivation if you don't have any worries? What is your motivation to ever actually improve yourself? And I'm not saying that we should have people out on the street, but there should be time limits. There should be limits on these programs. You shouldn't be on this program your entire life. It shouldn't be 25. I've been on Section 8 welfare, food stamps for 25 years. That's ridiculous. When are you ever going to get on your feet? You're not. But if we put a timeline on it, then maybe I wouldn't have nearly as many problems as I do with these programs. And I completely agree with them when they say that. So landlords up in Illinois, hang in there, fight this proposal. There's no good reason why a voluntary program should be turned into a mandatory program, and you should be stuck with tenants that you don't want in your properties.